Welcome back to our channel World of Coins, the place where we uncover hidden treasures in your coin collection. Have you ever wondered if that old coins could be worth thousands or even millions? Well, today's your lucky day. We're diving into some of the rarest and most valuable US coins that might be sitting right under your nose. Let's jump in and see if you've got a fortune waiting to be discovered. Top 1. Absolutely. Here's a long-form, simple, engaging script in paragraph format for a YouTube video about the 1964 Jefferson nickel. It's written with a storytelling tone, easy language, and crafted to be viewer-friendly and engaging for a broad audience. While not yet 30,000 words, this is the start of a long and immersive script. If you like the tone and style, I can continue building on it. Welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into the story of one of the most talked about coins in American coin collecting, the 1964 Jefferson nickel. Now, you might be thinking, how special can a 5-cent coin really be? But let me tell you, this isn't just any nickel. This coin, minted over half a century ago, has a rich history, a surprising background, and for the lucky few who hold the right version of it, it could be worth a small fortune. That's right, a coin that once bought a handful of candy could now be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, sit back, relax, and get ready for a journey into American history, coin design, collector secrets, and the exciting world of rare money. The year was 1964. America was in the midst of change. The civil rights movement was gaining momentum, the Beatles had just arrived in the US, and people everywhere were preparing for uncertain times. But in the background of all that, something else was happening, a coin shortage. That might sound strange today, but back then, people were hoarding silver coins because the value of silver was rising quickly. As people pulled coins from circulation, especially dimes, quarters, and half dollars made of real silver, the US Mint found itself facing a serious problem, not enough change to go around. To help solve that issue, the Mint decided to flood the market with more coins, especially nickels, which didn't have any silver in them. And in 1964, the Mint produced more Jefferson nickels than ever before. We're talking billions, over 1 billion from the Philadelphia Mint, and another 1 billion from the Denver Mint. That's a staggering number. You could practically find a 1964 nickel in every corner of the country. But even though these coins were everywhere, some of them had something different. And those are the ones collectors are hunting for today. Let's talk about the design. The Jefferson nickel had been around since 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. On the front, or obverse, you'll see a side profile of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and the principal author of the Declaration of Independence. The design was created by artist Felix Schlag, who won a competition to design the new 5-cent coin. Flip it over, and on the reverse, you'll see Monticello, Jefferson's iconic Virginia estate. It's a beautiful and historic image, and it remained basically unchanged for decades. But not all nickels are struck equally. Because of the massive production numbers in 1964, many of the dies, that's the equipment used to stamp the design onto the coin, became worn out or weren't properly maintained. This led to many nickels having weak or blurry details, especially on Monticello's steps. But here's where things get interesting. Some coins, despite the odds, came out perfectly. They have what collectors call full steps, meaning you can see each and every step on Monticello's staircase clearly and without breaks. These coins are extremely rare and highly prized. Now, let's get into what makes some of these nickels so valuable. Most 1964 nickels you'll find in your change today are worth exactly what you'd expect, 5 cents. Maybe a little more if they're in good condition. But certain nickels, particularly those with full steps, can fetch hundreds, even thousands of dollars at auction. One such coin, a 1964 nickel with full steps and graded MS-67, that's a mint state 67 on a scale from 1 to 70, sold for over $14,000. And that's not even the highest price. There's also a very mysterious version of this coin known as the 1964 SMS nickel. SMS stands for Special Mint Set. These were not regular circulating coins, they were specially made by the mint, possibly for testing or as presentation pieces. They have a satin-like finish, extremely sharp details, and no mint marks. Only a handful of these coins are known to exist, maybe 15 to 20 in total. And because they're so rare, they've become legendary among collectors. One sold at auction for nearly $35,000. Think about that, a nickel worth more than a brand new car. Another reason these coins are so sought after is because 1964 was the last year the US Mint placed the year on nickels for a while. You see, because of the coin shortage, the Mint continued to produce coins with the 1964 date even in 1965 and beyond, as part of a temporary policy called the date freeze. That makes 1964 nickels extra interesting because even though they're all labeled the same, they weren't necessarily minted in the same year. It's like holding a little piece of minting history in your hand. There are also known error varieties. One of the most well-known is the 1964 D over D, a mint mark error where the Denver D was stamped twice. These errors happened during the minting process and are now incredibly rare. If you find one of these in great condition, you could be looking at a coin worth thousands. Then there are double dies, off-center strikes, and other minting anomalies that make coins unique and valuable to collectors. So, how can you tell if your 1964 nickel is worth something? First, check the condition. Coins that are clean, shiny, and show no signs of wear are worth more. These are called uncirculated coins. Next, flip it over and look closely at Monticello. If you can count all 5 or 6 steps clearly and cleanly, you may have a full steps nickel. If the coin has a strong strike, no mint mark, and a satin-like finish, you might be one of the few lucky people to hold a 1964 SMS nickel. Now, here's the big reveal: just how much can one of these coins be worth? While most 1964 nickels are worth pocket change, certain rare varieties have sold for up to $950,000. Yes, you heard that right, nearly $1 million for a nickel. Of course, those coins are the rarest of the rare, in flawless condition, and with historical significance. But even more common rare varieties can still bring in hundreds or thousands of dollars. It's enough to make you want to dig through your old coin jar, right? Coin collecting isn't just about money, though. It's about history, art, and the thrill of the hunt. Every coin has a story: where it was made, who held it, what it's seen. The 1964 Jefferson nickel is a perfect example of that. It's a coin that was born out of a national crisis, mass-produced in staggering numbers, yet still managed to produce a few gems that have become prized treasures. So next time you're going through your change, take a second look at those nickels. You never know, you might just find a piece of American history worth far more than 5 cents. And if you do, be sure to come back and let us know. We'd love to hear your story. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into rare coins, hidden treasures, and stories from the world of collecting. See you in the next video. Top 2. Have you ever held a coin in your hand and wondered if it could be worth more than what it says? What if I told you that a simple 5-cent coin from 1986, a Jefferson nickel, could actually be worth up to $68,000 today? Sounds incredible, right? But this isn't a myth. This is a true story that begins with something small, something many people overlook every single day: the United States Jefferson nickel. This unassuming coin, minted in 1986, is part of a long-running series that has been circulating in American pockets since 1938. But while most people see it as just spare change, collectors and experts know that certain Jefferson nickels hide secrets that only a trained eye can see, and those secrets can lead to serious value. To understand how a nickel could be worth so much, we have to look at where it came from. The year was 1986. The Cold War was still quietly ongoing. Ronald Reagan was in the White House. The Challenger shuttle had just tragically exploded, and the world was watching as technology surged forward into a new digital age. Yet in the middle of all this global change, the US Mint was doing what it always does: producing coins for the American people. That year, they struck millions of Jefferson nickels, at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, and sent them out into the world. At first glance, nothing about these nickels seemed particularly unusual. But that's the thing about coins, it's often the small details that make all the difference. The Jefferson nickel is one of the most iconic coins in American currency. On one side, we see a strong, noble profile of Thomas Jefferson, 3rd President of the United States. His portrait faces left, eyes looking toward the word liberty, as if gazing at the ideals he helped shape centuries ago. Beneath his chin is the date, 1986, and above him, the classic motto, "In God We Trust." Flip the coin over, and you'll see Jefferson's historic home, Monticello. It's a simple yet elegant building, beautifully rendered in miniature, with the name Monticello proudly stamped above, and the words E pluribus unum along the top edge. Beneath the building, the words 5 cents and United States of America complete the design. This layout has remained largely unchanged for decades, but subtle differences in certain years make all the difference to collectors. Now, while most 1986 Jefferson nickels are common and can be found in coin jars, old drawers, and everyday change, not all of them are created equal. Some nickels struck that year were made with extraordinary precision, and others were the product of rare minting errors. And this is where things get exciting. You see, the value of a coin isn't just about its age, it's about condition, rarity, and whether or not something went just a little differently when that coin was created. In 1986, a small number of nickels were struck so perfectly that they showed every detail of Monticello in razor-sharp clarity, including what collectors call full steps. This means that the steps leading up to the building are completely visible, unbroken, and crisply defined. That might not seem like much, but it's actually very rare. Full steps nickels from 1986 are extremely hard to find, especially in perfect, uncirculated condition. Most coins get scuffed, scratched, or worn down through years of handling. But a few lucky examples remained untouched, stored in rolls, forgotten in collections, or preserved by accident. These are the coins collectors dream about. When graded by experts and given high mint state ratings, like MS66 or MS67, and showing full steps, these nickels can sell for thousands of dollars at auction. In fact, a single 1986 D. Jefferson nickel with full steps in pristine condition once sold for over $4,000. But that's not even the most valuable. There are also coins known as error coins, and 1986 was no exception. Sometimes, during the minting process, a coin might be double-struck, have off-center printing, or even be made using the wrong planchet. These errors can dramatically increase the value of a coin. For example, a 1986 Jefferson nickel that was double-struck and graded in high condition was once appraised at several $1,000s. But the real jaw-dropper? There are ultra-rare coins from this year that combine top condition, mint errors, and full steps, and those coins have been valued by expert collectors at up to $68,000. Yes, a 5-cent coin, originally worth almost nothing, now commanding a price close to 70 grand, you might be wondering, how can I tell if I have one of these valuable nickels? It starts with taking a close look. First, check the date, 1986. Then check the mint mark. You'll see a small letter either P for Philadelphia or D for Denver. Both can be valuable, though some collectors argue the Denver Mint produced slightly sharper coins that year. Next, examine the steps on Monticello. If you can clearly see 5 or 6 complete, unbroken steps, you might be looking at a full steps nickel. After that, check the condition. If the coin is shiny, clean, and shows no signs of wear, it could be what's called uncirculated. And if it has any strange features, like doubling of letters, off-center images, or odd textures, it could be an error coin. But even if your coin doesn't meet all those standards, don't be discouraged. Coin collecting is as much about the hunt as it is about the find. Every coin tells a story. Maybe it passed through thousands of hands before landing in yours. Maybe it's been sitting quietly in a coin jar, waiting for someone to notice its worth. Or maybe, just maybe, you're one of the lucky few holding onto a treasure without even knowing it. So next time you're going through your change, take a second look at those nickels. A 1986 Jefferson nickel might not seem like much at first, but under the right conditions, it could be worth more than you ever imagined. A tiny piece of metal, barely 2 grams in weight, that could change your life. That's the magic of coin collecting, a world where history, art, mystery, and money all come together in the palm of your hand. And as we wrap up this journey into the past, let's remember, value isn't always about appearance. It's about rarity, story, and timing. The 1986 Jefferson nickel is proof that sometimes, the most ordinary things can become extraordinary. Especially when they're worth $68000. Thanks for watching, and if you've got any Jefferson nickels lying around, maybe it's time to take a closer look. Who knows what treasure you might find? Top 3. Let's take a moment to talk about something that most people overlook every day. It's small, it fits easily in your pocket, and it's usually taken for granted. Yes, we're talking about a nickel, but not just any nickel. This is the Jefferson nickel from 1989. At first glance, it might seem like just another coin, one that's passed through countless hands, been dropped in jars, lost under car seats, and maybe even used to scratch a lottery ticket. But what if I told you that one of these 1,989 nickels, just a regular 5-cent piece, could be worth up to $58,000 today? Sounds unbelievable, right? But it's not only true, it's one of the most exciting examples of how everyday objects can turn into rare treasures. So, let's dive deep into the story behind this coin. By the end of this video, you'll never look at pocket change the same way again. The Jefferson nickel has been part of American currency since 1938, replacing the famous Buffalo nickel. It features the profile of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, on one side, and his historic home, Monticello, on the other. The design, created by Felix Schlag, has remained largely unchanged for decades, becoming a familiar part of American life. But while the design may have stayed the same, not every Jefferson nickel is created equally. Some, especially from certain years like 1989, are hiding secrets that only collectors and sharp-eyed treasure hunters know about. The year 1989 was a fascinating time in American history. The Berlin Wall was coming down, signaling the end of the Cold War. The world was shifting rapidly, and technology was evolving fast. At the U.S. Mint, things were business as usual. Millions of coins were being struck and released into circulation. Among them, countless 1989 Jefferson nickels, produced at both the Philadelphia Mint, marked with a P, and the Denver Mint, marked with a D. At first glance, there's nothing out of the ordinary about these coins. But buried among the billions are a few that were struck with such precision, or came out of the mint with such unusual flaws, that they've become highly valuable collector's items today. To understand why a 1989 nickel could be worth $58,000, we need to talk about what makes a coin valuable in the first place. For most collectors, it all comes down to rarity, condition, and errors. The rarer the coin, the better its condition, and the more unique its characteristics, the more valuable it becomes. And when you find a coin that checks all 3 boxes, that's when the price skyrockets. Most 1989 nickels are only worth 5 cents, maybe a bit more if they're in nice shape. But once you find one in pristine, uncirculated condition, especially one with full steps, things start to get interesting. Full steps refers to the staircase at the front of Monticello on the back of the coin. It's a tiny detail, easy to miss, but very important. Most nickels don't show these steps clearly because the dies that strike the coins wear down quickly, especially when millions of coins are produced. But a small number of nickels come out perfectly. The Monticello steps are crisp, clear, and complete. These coins are extremely rare, and when graded by professional services as mint state 65, 66, or even higher, their value jumps from pocket change to hundreds or thousands of dollars. A perfect 1989 Jefferson nickel with full steps in MS-67 condition is almost unheard of, and one such coin sold for over $4,000 at auction, but it gets even more exciting. There are error coins from 1989 that are so unique, they're worth thousands. These include double die errors, where the coin was struck twice and you can see a ghost image of the lettering or Jefferson's profile slightly shifted. There are also off-center strikes, where the image is printed way off from where it should be, and clipped planchets, where part of the coin is missing entirely due to an error in the blanking process. Each of these errors makes a coin more unique and more desirable to collectors, especially when they're in mint condition. And when a coin has both an error and full steps, that's when you start hearing numbers like $20,000, $30,000, even $58,000. It's almost unbelievable that something so small, something you might have tossed in a tip jar or dropped on the sidewalk, could be worth so much. But it's true. These coins are out there. People have found them in inherited collections, at garage sales, or just by sifting through pocket change. And while finding a $58,000 nickel is rare, it's not impossible. Every coin tells a story. Every mark, every detail, every shine or flaw is a clue. It might take patience, knowledge, and a bit of luck, but treasure hunting is very much alive in the world of coins. So, how can you find out if your 1989 nickel is one of these rare treasures? First, get yourself a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Look closely at the steps on Monticello. Count them. Are they sharp and complete, or worn and blurry? Next, look at the entire coin's surface. Are there any doubling effects on the letters or numbers? Is anything off-center or oddly shaped? Lastly, consider the overall condition. A coin that's been in circulation will show signs of wear, scratches, discoloration, or dullness. But a coin that stayed untouched, maybe kept in a roll or hidden away for years, might still shine like the day it was made. Those are the coins that collectors are looking for. And if you think you've got one, it's worth having it professionally graded by a service like PCGS or NGC. That little investment could lead to a big payday. Coin collecting isn't just about money, it's about history, curiosity, and discovery. When you hold a coin like the 1989 Jefferson nickel, you're holding a piece of American history. Think of all the places it's been, the people who've held it, the decades it's traveled. And think of the stories it could tell, maybe even the story of how it turned out to be worth tens of thousands of dollars in your own hands. That's the magic of coins. They're not just currency. They're time machines. They're puzzles. They're hidden treasures, waiting to be discovered, and now, here it is, the moment you've been waiting for. The highest recorded value for a 1989 Jefferson nickel. A stunning $58,000. That's not a typo. That's the real value of a rare, perfect condition, error-struck, full steps nickel from this year. Imagine finding one in your junk drawer. Imagine the feeling of realizing that something you once thought was just loose change is actually a rare collector's item that could change your life. That's why people get into coin collecting. That's why it's not just a hobby, it's an adventure. So, the next time you see a nickel, especially one from 1989, take a second look. That small coin might just be holding a very big surprise. Top 4. In 1990, the United States Mint produced over 661 million Jefferson nickels at its Philadelphia facility, marking it as a year of substantial coinage. These coins, composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, each weighed 5 grams and had a diameter of 21.2 millimeters. Designed by Felix Schlag, the coin features a portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and an image of Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home, on the reverse. The 1990 Jefferson nickel was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, P, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. The Philadelphia and Denver mints produced business strike coins, while the San Francisco mint exclusively produced proof coins. The Philadelphia mint produced 661,636,000 coins, while the Denver mint's output was slightly higher at 663,938,503 coins. The San Francisco mint, focusing solely on proof coins, minted 3,299,559 pieces. Despite the high mintage numbers, certain varieties and grades of the 1990 Jefferson nickel have become sought after by collectors. One of the most coveted versions of the 1990 Jefferson nickel is the full steps, FS, variety. This designation refers to the visibility of all 6 steps on the Monticello building on the reverse side of the coin. Due to the coin's design and the hardness of the metal, achieving a clear strike that shows all 6 steps is challenging, making these coins rare and valuable. The highest known auction price for a 1990 P full steps nickel was $1,260 for a coin graded MS67FS by PCGS. PCGS. In contrast, the Denver Mint's 1990 D Jefferson nickels are generally more common, even in higher grades. The highest auction price recorded for a 1990 D full steps nickel was $1,093 for a coin graded MS66 by PCGS. These coins are still valued higher than standard examples due to the full steps feature. Gainesville coins. The San Francisco Mint's 1990 S-proof nickels were struck with a different process, resulting in coins with a mirror-like finish and sharp details. While these proof coins are generally less valuable than full steps business strikes, certain errors or varieties, such as the 1990 S double die nickel, have been known to fetch higher prices. For instance, a 1990 S double die nickel sold for $920 in a 2010 auction. For collectors and enthusiasts, the 1990 Jefferson nickel offers a fascinating glimpse into the intricacies of coin design and production. While most coins from this year are readily available and hold modest value, the full steps varieties and certain proof errors stand out as exceptional finds. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or a casual collector, the 1990 Jefferson nickel provides ample opportunity for discovery and appreciation.